My name is Harper. I'm 25 years old. Today I'm going to talk about the day that my family said I failed. Then my brother's fiancé looked at me and said, "You're the founder? It's a pleasure to have you here. Stay tuned until the end and tell me which city you're watching from. I want to know how far my story has gone." And click on like, subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the next stories here on the channel. I was never the daughter my parents bragged about. Not like Derek, the golden child who could do no wrong, or Megan, the baby of the family whose every whim was treated like gospel. I was just Harper, the middle one, the quiet one, the one who, according to my mom, had so much potential if only she'd stop wasting her time on that computer junk. At 25, I had grown used to the sideways glances and awkward silences whenever someone in my family asked what I was doing with my life. I hadn't finished college. I didn't have a real job. I worked from my apartment in a rundown complex on the edge of town. I was invisible at best, disappointing at worst. When Derek announced his engagement to Alyssa, I didn't even consider that I'd be invited to the dinner. We hadn't talked in months, and when we did, it was stiff formal. He was polite, but always with that undertone, like he was embarrassed by me. So when the invitation came in the mail, in thick cream-colored cardstock, I thought it was a mistake. "Are you sure they meant to invite me?" I asked my mom over the phone. "Of course," she said, though her tone lacked warmth. "Your family, Harper. It's important you show up. And maybe try to dress nicely, all right?" I spent the whole week debating if I should even go. I didn't owe them anything. But a small part of me, maybe the part that still wanted my mom to look at me with something other than disappointment, packed my nicest dress and went. The dinner was at a private room in an upscale Italian restaurant downtown. Everyone was already there when I walked in. Derek in a crisp navy suit, Megan in a glittery dress too short for the occasion, my parents beaming like royalty. And then there was me, the disappointment. The conversations buzzed around the table, but I wasn't part of them. Megan talked about her brand deals and yoga retreats. Derek told a story about closing some big case. My dad laughed too loudly. My mom kept looking at my hair and wrinkling her nose, like she wanted to ask if I even brushed it. Nobody asked what I'd been up to. Nobody cared. I was reaching for my water when I heard Alyssa's voice, clear and curious. "So Harper, what do you do?" The table went quiet. Just for a second. But I felt every eye shift to me like a spotlight had been flicked on. I cleared my throat. "I work in tech. I develop apps." My mom made a noise like a suppressed scoff. My dad took a sip of wine. Megan blinked like I'd spoken in another language. "Apps? Like games?" Derek asked, amused. "No," I said simply. "More like tools." Alyssa tilted her head. "What kind of tools?" "Safety tools," I replied. "For women." She nodded, thoughtful. But the conversation moved on. Back to Derek. Back to Megan. I faded again into the background, just like always. The night dragged. I thought about leaving early, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me give up. So I stayed. Smiled. Ate too little. Laughed when it was expected. And when it was finally over, I said goodbye, walked to my car, and let out the breath I'd been holding all night. I was unlocking the door when my phone buzzed. A message. From a number I didn't recognize. "Are you the founder of Vesta?" I stared at the screen. My chest tightened. No one was supposed to know. I kept my name off everything. It was safer that way. Quieter. I typed back. "Who is this?" The reply came fast. "Alyssa. Sorry if that's weird. I use Vesta. I recognized something in what you said. Please tell me it's you." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Maybe." "Why?" "Because Vesta saved my best friend's life. And if you really built it, you're not who they think you are." My heart pounded. I stared at the message, unsure what to feel. Alyssa wasn't just making small talk. She knew. She saw me. And for the first time in a long, long time, that meant something. But what she said last, that part stuck in my mind all night. You're not who they think you are. And maybe that was about to change. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying the moment Alyssa's message popped up. Her words echoing in my head like a bell I couldn't unring. I wasn't used to being seen, not really. and definitely not for something I was proud of. By morning, I had 3 more messages from her. Sorry again for the message. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I'd love to talk more about Vesta. And about you. Are you free sometime soon? It was surreal. Most people dismissed my work like it was a hobby. Alyssa sounded like she respected it. Like she respected me. I waited hours before replying. Sure. I'm free tomorrow afternoon. We met at a coffee shop near the university. Neutral ground. I didn't tell anyone. Definitely not my family. When she walked in, she smiled like we were old friends. I hope this isn't weird, she said, sitting across from me. I've been using Vesta for months. I never knew it was built by someone so close. I sipped my coffee, unsure what to say. It's not public who founded it, she went on. I tried to look it up after the dinner, and realized everything leads to a shell company. But your phrasing last night, the safety tools for women, that's straight from the app's description. I keep it quiet on purpose, I said. It's safer. Less attention, fewer questions. Alyssa nodded. Makes sense. But Harper, it's brilliant. Do you even realize how much impact this has had? My best friend was being followed after a night out. She used the check-in feature. It got her help before things escalated. That's not just tech, that's life-saving. I blinked hard, trying to hide the sudden burn in my eyes. I wasn't used to praise. And coming from someone like her, someone my family actually admired, it felt almost too much. Thank you, I said quietly. We talked for almost 2 hours. About tech. About women's safety. About being underestimated. Alyssa was sharp. She wasn't just polite, she understood things. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to shrink myself down to make someone else comfortable. When we finally stood to leave, she hesitated. I hope this isn't out of line, she said. But I think your family has no idea who you are. They talk about you like you're some failed experiment. But what you're doing, it's revolutionary. You deserve better than the way they treat you. I didn't know what to say. So I just nodded. And went home with my thoughts buzzing. Over the next few weeks, Alyssa and I kept talking. Sometimes over text, sometimes in person. And then one day, she invited me to lunch, just the 2 of us. I want to ask you something, she said as we sat down. But I need you to be honest. I braced myself. Did Derek know what you were working on? Before I found out. I blinked. No. I've never told him. Why? She looked down at her napkin, then back up. Her voice lowered. Because 3 weeks ago, Derek pitched an idea to a friend of mine. He said he had a contact in tech working on a woman's safety platform. When I asked who, he brushed it off. Said it was confidential. My stomach dropped. You think he was talking about Vesta? I don't know. But if he was trying to use your work to build clout in his circles, that's not okay. I felt cold. Angry. But more than that, disappointed. Of course he would. Of course he'd try to claim something he never believed in. I'm so sorry, Alyssa said genuinely. I didn't mean to make things worse. I just thought you should know. That night, I didn't sleep either. I kept thinking about the years I spent hiding my work, afraid to be dismissed or mocked. And the one person who should have protected me, my brother, might have been using me behind my back. Something inside me shifted. Not into rage. Not into revenge. Into clarity. If my family only valued me when I was silent, maybe it was time they heard my voice. And I knew exactly how to start. I accepted the next dinner invitation. Not out of obligation. Out of intention. What would you do if it were you? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe and activate the bell to receive all notifications so you don't miss the next story. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. Just RSVP'd and showed up. The dinner was held at my parents' house this time, a familiar battlefield. The smell of roast chicken and garlic bread greeted me before the door even opened. Megan answered, all fake smiles and passive-aggressive warmth. Harper, she chirped. Wow, you actually came. Yeah, I said, stepping in. Surprised me too. She laughed like I'd made a joke. My mom greeted me next, wiping her hands on a dish towel and giving me a stiff one-armed hug. You look better than last time, she said. I didn't respond. We sat down to eat. The usual small talk filled the room. Megan's fitness brand had landed a new sponsor. Derek was up for some law award. My dad talked about the neighborhood HOA like he was a senator. I just ate quietly. Until Alyssa spoke. You know, she said casually. Harper and I have been talking a lot lately. All eyes turned to her, then to me. I kept chewing. Really? My mom said, surprised. About what? Tech, Alyssa said with a bright smile. I'm actually fascinated by what she's been building. Derek's jaw stiffened. What do you mean? Alyssa turned to me. Do you want to tell them, or should I? I looked around the table. The same faces that had looked through me for years. I set down my fork. I created Vesta. I said simply. The women's safety app. It's mine. I built it. Silence. Complete, suffocating silence. Then my mom blinked. Wait, you? That thing you're always doing on your computer? That's what that is. Yes. That's impossible, Derek said. You're not even in the industry. You never finished school. I taught myself, I replied. I've been working on it for years. But it's huge, Megan said. Like, people talk about it on TikTok. I know. My dad cleared his throat. And you didn't think to tell anyone? No one asked, I said. No one's asked me anything about my life in years. The air turned cold. My mom's mouth tightened. That's not fair, Harper. We've always wanted what's best for you. No, I said steady. You wanted me to fit into a box you understood. When I didn't, you decided I was a failure. Derek scoffed. You're being dramatic. I turned to him. Really? Then why did you tell your VC friend you had a contact building a woman's safety app? His face went pale. What? You were trying to use my work for clout. And you didn't even have the decency to ask me first. I don't know what you're talking about, he muttered. Alyssa looked at him, stone-faced. I do. You told Alex at that brunch. I was there. The room imploded. Voices rose, fingers pointed. My mom demanded to know why I was trying to make a scene. My dad said we should all calm down. Derek called Alyssa a liar. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I stood up. I came tonight to tell you who I really am. Not the version of me you've built in your heads, but the actual me. I'm not asking for applause. Just acknowledgement. And now that I've said it, I'm done. Done with what? Megan asked, eyes wide. With all of this. The pretending. The begging for scraps of approval. I don't need it anymore. I turned to Alyssa. Thank you. For seeing me. She nodded, her eyes soft. I walked out before anyone could respond, got into my car, shut the door, and sat in silence for a full minute. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I smiled. For the first time in years, I felt like myself. And I wasn't going to let them take that away from me again. What came next, I hadn't decided yet. But I knew this much. They would never again be allowed to define my worth. I didn't expect the silence that followed. Days went by. No texts. No calls. Not even a passive-aggressive email from my mom. It was like I'd disappeared. Or maybe I'd finally done the disappearing they always wished for. At first, I thought maybe it hurt. But it didn't. It was peaceful. Like turning off a buzzing light you hadn't realized was giving you a headache. Alyssa reached out, though. Every day. Sometimes just to check in. Sometimes to share an article or podcast. She never pushed. Just showed up. Steady. Reliable. It was jarring to realize how little of that I'd had in my life. Then about a week later, I got an email. From my dad. Subject. Family meeting. Harper. Your mother and I think it's important to talk about recent events. We want to understand what happened and how to move forward as a family. Can you come to dinner Sunday night? Just us. No Alyssa. I stared at the screen. For a long time. Then I closed my laptop. I wasn't interested in being scolded or guilt. But something in me, some stubborn, wounded part, wanted closure. I went. Not because I owed them anything, but because I needed to see it through. The house was quieter than usual. No Megan. No Derek. Just my parents. My mom gave me a tense smile and led me to the dining room. We made lasagna, she said, as if that made everything normal. We sat, ate in silence. Then my dad cleared his throat. Harper, what you said the other night, it surprised us. It shouldn't have, I said. I've been working on Vesta for years. But you never told us, my mom snapped. You hid it. Because every time I tried to share anything about my life, you either ignored it or made me feel small. She looked stung. My dad held up a hand. Let's not turn this into a blame game, he said. We want to move forward. Do you? Or do you just want to smooth things over now that you know I'm not a failure? They didn't answer. I leaned back in my chair. You don't have to pretend to be proud. I'm not here for that. I just wanted to say this face to face. I'm done seeking your approval. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. My mom's voice cracked. But we're your family. Exactly, I said. And family should care about who you are, not just what you achieve. You didn't. And now it's too late to rewrite the past. There was a long silence. My dad nodded slowly. We hear you. It didn't feel like a victory, just a necessary end. I left that night knowing something had shifted permanently. Not in them, in me. The next morning, I got a message from Alyssa. You okay? Yeah. Clean break. Finally. Later that week, I got a package. No note, just a simple leather notebook. Inside the cover, Alyssa had written, they were wrong. You were never the black sheep. Just the only one smart enough to escape the pen. I laughed. Then I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I wasn't anymore. That week, I signed a deal with a nonprofit to expand Vesta's services internationally. Quietly. On my own terms. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was hiding. And I wasn't done yet. I started making changes. Real ones. The first thing I did was move. Not far, just out of the city center, into a quiet neighborhood where no one knew my last name. The new place had light, space, and most importantly, peace. I furnished it slowly, intentionally. Every chair, every lamp, every frame on the wall was something I chose for myself. Not inherited, not handed down, not picked out with someone else's taste in mind. I restructured my workdays too. I hired 2 women, both in their early 20s, both with stories eerily similar to mine. Bright. Overlooked. Hungry to build. They became part of Vesta's growing skeleton crew. We met in my new living room with laptops on our knees, planning the next expansion quietly, strategically. Meanwhile, my family remained silent. And I liked it that way. But silence doesn't mean they were gone. One afternoon, I saw Derek's name flash on my phone screen. I let it ring out. He didn't leave a voicemail. The next day he texted. Heard about the international launch. Congrats. You've done well. We should catch up. I didn't reply. A week later, Megan tagged me in a post on social media. It was a throwback photo, the 3 of us as kids. Her caption read, we may fight but we're always family. Proud of you, Harper. The comments exploded. People I barely knew congratulated me. My inbox filled with messages from high school classmates who hadn't spoken to me in years. I blocked Megan. It wasn't pettiness. It was preservation. They'd ignored me for so long. Now that I had something they could point to, I was useful again. Marketable. I refused to let them ride my name like a wave they never helped me build. Alyssa saw the post too. She called that night. They'll keep trying, she warned. Especially now that you've proven them wrong. I know. But they're not getting in. Not this time. We talked for an hour. About boundaries, about forgiveness, about the strange grief that comes with liberation. It's like losing a fantasy version of them, I said. The parents and siblings I wanted them to be. Exactly, she said. And making peace with who they really are. I hung up feeling lighter. And clearer. That clarity sharpened a few weeks later when I got an email from Derek's fiancée, his new one. Not Alyssa. Hi Harper, I know we haven't met. I just wanted to reach out because Derek mentioned you might be open to investing in a project he and I are developing. I deleted it without reading further. Then I emailed Alyssa. You dodged a bullet. Her reply came in under a minute. Every day I thank the version of me that walked away. And every day I'm more grateful to the version of you who helped me see I could. There was nothing more to say. By spring, Vesta's international rollout was underway. I gave my first small talk at a private women's conference. I didn't mention my family. Didn't need to. The audience was full of women who'd also been underestimated, dismissed, forgotten. After the speech, one woman came up to me teary-eyed. "You remind me of my daughter," she said. I didn't see her clearly until she stopped needing me to. That night, I sat on my balcony and watched the sun set over a city that had once felt too big for me. I wasn't the black sheep anymore. I was exactly where I was meant to be. And I wasn't done writing my story, not even close. I thought I'd reached the end of something. But life, as always, had other plans. Months after the conference, I received an email from a woman named Clarissa. She was the director of a small but fiercely focused foundation that supported grassroots tech solutions for women's safety. She'd seen my talk. She wanted to collaborate. No press, no panel interviews, just real work. The kind I craved. We started small. A pilot program in a rural Midwest community, where access to digital tools was limited. It was gritty and unglamorous and filled with logistical nightmares. But every time we heard from someone who used Vesta and felt safer, more seen, it lit something in me I hadn't felt before. Purpose, not just drive. One afternoon, I got a package with no return address. Inside was an envelope and a small wooden box. The envelope held a short, handwritten note. From someone who underestimated you once. "I'm sorry. Truly, Mom." In the box was a bracelet I hadn't seen in years. It had belonged to my grandmother, the only person in my family who ever made me feel enough just as I was. I held it for a long time, unsure if the gesture was peace or manipulation. Maybe both. I didn't respond. Forgiveness, I was learning, didn't always require a conversation. Sometimes it was a quiet decision you made in the privacy of your own mind. I didn't need to reopen the door to my family, but I could stop carrying the weight of it. Alyssa and I stayed in touch. She moved to another city for work, but visited twice a year. We met at the same coffee shop where she first asked me, "Are you the founder of Vesta?" Every time we sat across from each other, we remembered how much had changed, not just in our lives, but in how we saw ourselves. One day, she said something that stuck with me. "I think sometimes, being seen by the right person at the right time can undo years of being invisible." I smiled. Or it reminds you that you were never the problem. Vesta kept growing. Quietly. I still didn't give interviews. I didn't post about milestones. I didn't go viral. But the women who used the app sent messages, stories, gratitude. And that was enough. Then one evening, while walking home from a local meetup, I passed a bookstore. In the window was a display for a new memoir, written by Megan. The title was vague, the kind meant to hint at redemption. On the back, her bio read, "She's passionate about resilience, family bonds, and learning from past mistakes." I didn't buy it. I didn't even go inside. I simply kept walking. Later that night, I opened the notebook Alyssa gave me months ago. I hadn't written in it yet. But now I knew what the first page would say. I was never the black sheep. I was just the one who dared to walk alone. Underneath I added, "And I found something better than acceptance. I found peace." I closed the notebook, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Finally deeply free. If you like stories like these, click like, subscribe, activate the bell, and send it to someone you think will also like it.